our parents dying has been pretty hard on our whole family. And I'm thinking more about my mother's death this year because the story of how she died is pretty terrible. She was murdered, and her killer is up for parole this October. It's been 20 years. She worked as a secretary and went to college on the weekends to get a social work degree because she wanted to be a therapist. She had a therapist. I would go to her therapist with her. And she loved being in therapy. She wanted to help other people. And she when she graduated from Ohio Dominican, we were so proud of her. We took her out to Block's Bagels. We had her graduation party. It was just like a few people, a little party. And she applied to Ohio State to go and get a master's degree in social work. But unfortunately, when they took her grades from way back when she was 18 years old and first went to college at Urbana University, she got bad grades and they combined those and her GPA wasn't high enough. She was not accepted into the School of Social Work at Ohio State, which is ironic because later, after she died, they established a scholarship in her name. But she, instead of becoming a therapist, and because she didn't get into school at Ohio State, she went and worked at Franklin County Children's Services as a caseworker, working with families who were experiencing abuse, violence, addiction, all of those things. And she had a family that was particularly troublesome. There were 8 children. The father was sexually abusing the children. The father was violent. There was drug use going on in the house. And my mom talked about this family from time to time she was only at Children's Services for like 2 years before she died. So the parents weren't following any treatment program and they weren't making improvement. So after like a year and a half, my mom made a recommendation. The children had already been removed from the home, placed with relatives and so forth. My mom made a recommendation that they become permanent, they take the custody away from the parents permanently. So the day that my mom went to tell them that, to tell the parents, the mother, I still to this day don't know why you would walk out of a conversation like that. But the mother left the house and my mom was left alone with this man and he murdered my mom with kitchen knives and he beat her and choked her and left. He put clean clothes on over his bloody clothes and got in his car and tried to drive and pick his kids up from school. Unsuccessfully. He ended up at Net Care Access that day where he confessed, went to jail and went through the whole process of our family decided to accept a plea agreement instead of pressing for a death penalty trial. I actually came out, even though the prosecutor was saying like, it was in the newspaper, death penalty or whatever. And I said, I don't support that. I'm against it. Even though this person killed my mom, I still think it's wrong. And so we didn't do that. And I don't know what I would have, I wish he wasn't able to ever get up for parole, but the laws just weren't written like that. So I don't think he's going to be paroled. And I don't want to go to his hearing. I don't want to meet him. I don't want to be in a room with this person. I don't want him to know I exist. I have a different name now. I had a different name than my mom back then anyway.
But I'm really
I have a lot of anxiety around that. Like what's going to happen this fall.
Yeah, I understand. I don't blame you. And I think your position on the death penalty is incredibly admirable. Knowing the experience you've had, it's easy for people to have kind of opinions on that. But when it's your family, to still feel that way, and yet now kind of be faced with this possibility, even the possibility is understandably anxiety provoking. And I just, want to kind of like honor that there's a lot there that, yes, you're in this current state today where that pending parole brings up a lot for you. Not to mention the actual experience of having your mother murdered, especially as she is committed to trying to help people through challenging, horrible situations, has to have been just heartbreaking, beyond out. There's no words. I don't even have the words to describe what that must have been like for you, and still is today, how that must still be a part of your life in a very traumatic way.
It is. When someone violates your family and your loved one's body, it's like they violate my body.
Mhm.
It's like they did that to me. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So what I'm hoping though is that, I mean, it's been 20 years, and this is like not something like talk about, because I never want to see the look on people's faces that I'm hurting them by telling them, the pain people experience upon hearing this story is hard for me to see. And also I never wanted to be treated differently. And I don't know if you meet people in your life who are like always talking about the terrible things that have happened to them and they sort of carry it like this. And I never wanted to be that person. I wanted to go forward and try to help people, which is what brings me a lot of joy in life, to help others, and just kind of have it not be about me, which is, again, right. That's my whole career.